Okay, we can start.
We can start with roll call, yes.
Okay, here, the Protection of Policy meeting for April 6th, 2020 is now in session. Roll call, Alder Steuer.
I am here.
Alder Vanderleest.
Here.
Alder Stevens.
I am here.
And the chair, Alder Scannell, is here. All are present and accounted for. I'll take a motion to approve our minutes from the March 23rd meeting.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that was a motion made by Alder Stevens and seconded by Alder Vanderleest.
Correct.
And then I jumped a little too quickly here. I'll take a motion to approve our agenda.
Motion to approve.
Okay, moved by Alder Stevens, seconded by Alder Steuer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously. Let me know when you're ready, Joanne.
One minute.
Okay,
I'm toggling through. Here we
okay. We'll let you toggle.
go. All right, we are on to item number 1.
Okay, consideration with possible action on an application for a Class B combination license by TNT Holdings LLC at 2511 West Mason Street with a licensed premise description as outdoor patio bar, storage room, walk-in cooler, office, employee room, bar, sit-down area, currently licensed as Scoreboard Grill LLC, previously discussed at the March 23rd, 2020 meeting and referred back from the Common Council meeting of April 1st, 2020. Should we start with Alder Galvin, perhaps?
I'm okay with that. Let me know.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. I have nothing against TNT Holdings or the business plan or anything else like that. I just think that we have painted ourselves into a corner as a council. We have an ordinance on the books that states when people have an outdoor area attached to their liquor license, that it needs a barrier between that outdoor patio area and the rest of the outside world. And that barrier is supposed to be of a certain height and a certain thickness. And that is to prevent alcoholic beverages from passing through the fence or over the top of it. That's all that ordinance is for, is to prevent that. Now, the council and committee has taken up an attitude, I believe, where they look at what is the business when they ask for a variance on this item. You know, they look at the business, they look at the operator, and they're almost always, hey, really great people running the business. It's a great location. Lots of people like going there. Let's grant the variance. And I think we're overlooking, again, what the ordinance is there for. The ordinance is there to prevent alcoholic beverages from being passed outside of that patio. If we're not going to have an obstacle to prevent that, why do we even have the ordinance? We've never denied anyone. And I think the short-sighted look of this is, in the past, we have granted liquor licenses to individuals that in hindsight we shouldn't have, but we have to take a chance based on that individual. And we're doing the same thing with this ordinance, except that we don't know if that person is going to become a bad operator or if they're going to sell the business to a bad operator. And once that happens, once we start having problems with these outdoor patios, how do you go back and tell someone to spend thousands of dollars to upgrade their property? We've already given them permission to not have it the way the ordinance requires. And this creates a problem. And I think we either should enforce the ordinance going forward every time, all the time, or let's just get rid of it. Why have the ordinance there so that we can waste our time every time someone wants to change or add on to an outdoor patio, so they come and request a variance? Thank you.
Why don't we get from staff anything they'd like to add to this, and then I have a few ideas I'd like to share. So, anything from legal?
Yes, so this is Joanne Bungert. So from law's perspective, it's, as far as the enforcement of the ordinance does lay out certain requirements, and it also has that ability for council to waive those requirements if it deems that having a variance or not having the fence up to the 6-foot height requirement or the impervious to passing of drinks is appropriate for the location and for any potential impact to the residential area or surrounding businesses or sidewalks and things of that nature. From a practicality standpoint and discussions with inspections that law department has had, because we actually do have on our radar as part of the entire revamp of Chapter 33, which I know Alder Galvin requested for us to do quite some time back, and we have been diligently working on it. It's just it's been a bit of a roller coaster the past couple years, and even more so recently. But it is on our priority of things to update, and part of that revamp was addressing this issue because we were seeing so many requests for patios that don't conform to the 6-foot requirement and that impervious requirement, just because that type of fencing isn't really something that a lot of businesses build, because it kind of cuts off people from enjoying the outdoors and being outside and being able to people watch and see what's happening within a community while having dinner and having a glass of wine. And also in discussions with inspections, it did come up that our building codes don't require any fencing to be 6 feet. It's usually around 4 feet or around there. I don't remember the exact number. But taking all that into consideration, we are working on making changes to the current ordinance so that it restructures the requirements that are more in line with what building codes provide and what current properties and future builds kind of go along with. And from law's perspective, what's most important is to ensure that there is some sort of barrier that can't just be sidestepped or ignored or overlooked. We do need some sort of barrier, whether it be some sort of planters or bollards or fencing, whether it's wrought iron or wood, and that it does come to a certain height. However, we felt that 6 feet, again, is something that's not really seen a lot in any property, unless you're trying to create some sort of a security fence, then you see that height. And we do want it to be kind of in line with what building codes provide so that it's just easier and clear for constituents to follow. And again, we do need some sort of barrier, mostly for the purpose of delineating between what is licensed and what is not licensed. And that's essentially kind of the summary of what law department's perspective is on the matter. I think Lieutenant Mahoney wanted to share as far as the police perspective as far as whether they are seeing a lot of problems with passing of drinks and movement of alcohol from licensed to unlicensed.
Okay, but before we get off, so Mahoney, are there any questions for Joanne?
No.
I was gonna, am I on now?
Yep,
Yep.
you're on.
Yep.
Okay, I just plugged into the meeting. I think I'm okay now.
Oh,
Okay.
You don't need the phone anymore, Randy.
all right, well, it's been fun talking to you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. I didn't hear as much of the, are you there?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. I understand a little bit where Alder Galvin's coming from on this, but, as far as I go for this type of information, over time, I've always referred to the attorney and to
Sorry,
the
if I
police.
may, it's just questions now for
Yes.
Joanne.
Oh, it's for Joanne. Okay. I'm
Any
sorry, I was
questions?
trying to answer to Alder Galvin.
Oh, no,
That's
just
fine,
talk to
I'll-
Joanne right now, please.
Okay, I'll lay off of that then right now.
Okay, then we'll hear from Officer Mahoney, and then any questions for him, and then we could open the floor for the Mr. Piontek, I believe, or we could have a little discussion amongst ourselves and then open the floor. Either way, people, if you want to do it, we'll take it up there, that discussion. But right, Officer Mahoney.
Yes, I'm here. From the police department's perspective, like Joanne said, we've been advised that they are revamping the ordinance to potentially lower what the height requirement is. Like she said, based on aesthetics and people wanting to enjoy the outdoors. In terms of this place, I went out and I measured the fence today. Their wrought iron fence is 56 inches tall, which is like 4.66 feet. And they also had clear plexiglass between the metal wrought iron. And I guess I'm speaking to this business since it's the one on the agenda. Also, where this business is located, there is not any foot traffic. There's not a sidewalk. In fact, it's a frontage road, and right across the frontage road, you get to see the Oneida Casino. So it's not one that the police department's worried, say in more of a downtown atmosphere where someone's sitting there and would be able, as they're sitting there, hand a drink off to somebody. That is why the police department had no objection to this application for the liquor license, knowing that the fence is a little shorter than the 6 foot requirement. It is a barrier to prevent alcohol from being passed over, and from my experience, it's even a bit taller than most of the other barriers that I have seen.
Any questions for Officer Mahoney?
Yes.
Yep. Go ahead, Alder Galvin.
Yeah, Lieutenant Mahoney, do you know what's going to be built next door to that tavern next year?
That I do not know.
So if I was to tell you there was going to be an apartment building with children and everything else running around, are you aware of that?
No, I was not aware of that.
And that's exactly the reason why when we grant these variances, we don't know what is in the future. And once that fence is there, I can bet you my bottom dollar that council will not force them to spend more money to upgrade or make that fence conform to our ordinance. And that's the reason why, like our attorney has said, we need to revamp the ordinance and then just enforce it for what it was meant to do. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
I'd just like to make a comment.
Well, let's just save the comments for later, please. We'll just,
Okay,
just
no
for Officer for Mahoney right now, please.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Officer Mahoney. Perhaps if you could discuss this a little amongst yourselves and then open the floor if we for the owner of the property. I'm going to jump in first since I'm the chair and I'm here.
Okay.
I feel that what legal had mentioned, that the change of, there's a big push now to do outdoor, more of a cafe atmosphere. And even in our downtown, we've got a lot of establishments bumping out into the sidewalk, and there's no barriers really much at all, just being ADA compliant for keeping the sidewalk clear enough for traffic. I'm not as worried anymore about alcohol being passed back and forth. I'm not sure that that's an issue we really need to address with a barrier anymore. I mean, for me, that's now an issue like any other violation that a tavern might have. It's just a matter of police enforcement. I don't think we need to be more to try and stop a behavior that seems to have died down and gone out. We are trying to create this cafe atmosphere. A lot of businesses are you don't want to be bumping out into the, as Joanne said, you've got this outdoor facility, and you've got a big 6-foot wall blocking your view. I mean, it really the purpose. And I think also with this establishment, I think we do need to make a distinction between businesses that serve food. This is a bar and grill, as opposed to just an out-and-out bar. So for me, I don't have any concern with this one in particular because it is a bar and grill, and it is a food establishment where people can go out and eat and drink and enjoy the outdoors, which is what we've been kind of an atmosphere, a vibe we've been promoting in our downtown, and other places around the city are picking it up, and I support that effort. I think that's a positive move for a business and for our community as an attitude towards drinking. It's more social. It places more responsibility on the owner for policing and maintaining that area. But I think it's a very positive move. So I think I look forward to laws revamping of the ordinance. But for me, I understand the concern where it's coming from, but I just don't think anymore that's a major concern we need to be proactive about. I think it's just a concern we can now add to our list of other issues that we expect a bar to maintain their business, and if they violate that, they get cited. And
Can I interject?
Like with any citation, if things get build up and get out of hand, then the police get involved and we go through that whole process. So I'm pretty comfortable with, okay.
Can I interject?
Alder Vanderleest next, and then
Alder Stoyer?
And then Alder Stoyer. Okay, Alder Vanderleest?
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate that. I feel that with the law department, taking a look at redoing the height requirements and things, I think that's a big positive, very positive. And I think that from looking at our, number of problems we've had, we haven't had a lot of problems. From the police department mentioning that, that there's activity that aren't just okay as far as, passing drinks. I don't think we've had any of those kind of problems. So I'm all for, revamping the ordinance itself and taking a look at it that way. And I think that, we look at our Tavern League. I think they've done a pretty good job as far as how they're policing themselves, as far as drunk driving and things like that. I think we've had a very positive influence by the Tavern League and other establishments as well, as far as, the drunk driving and all this type of thing. And I think that most tavern owners, they want to be responsible, and, at least they're coming forward and asking for, a variance where they have special, special events that are going on, and they're coming to our council to, just to make it right with the police department and legal. So I think that, they're kind of ahead of the curve a little bit. So I would say that, revamping the ordinance and moving forward that way, I think that's very positive steps. And I don't think we've had a lot of problems with this. If we had 7, 8, 10 complaints, we'd be taking a different look. But I think that, what the legal is doing and the administration, I think they're doing a good job. So I'm looking forward to the changes that are coming forward in the near future. Thank you.
Alder Stoyer?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I was wondering if I could ask Alder Galvin a question.
Certainly.
Alder Galvin, I know you being on police for all those years, you had a lot of different experiences with this type of situation. Are you somewhat satisfied with some of the comments that Alder Vanderleest made in terms of looking at that we're going to be looking at this ordinance and trying to change this up? Is that something that will appeal to you, or are you looking for more in-depth information in the ordinance?
I'm looking for either we have a stop sign or we don't have a stop sign. Okay, I'm looking for either we have an ordinance that is there to prevent the passing of alcohol back and forth, or we don't have an ordinance for it. If we want an ordinance just so they can delineate where the line is for an outdoor patio, then just have them do that. They can paint the line on the ground or whatever. I don't care. But if the ordinance is there to prevent the passing of alcohol back and forth, then we need it. Now, you can go down to the sardine can, which we granted them a variance. You can go down to the city deck. You can talk to the neighbors or walk around. You can see the amount of discarded alcohol beverage containers, glasses, cans, cups, that kind of stuff. You can, I guess, try and make a good determination of where they came from. I mean, did it all blow there? Was it all dropped there by a windstorm? Was it, coming out of the taverns, or do the neighbors in that area just empty all their alcohol refuse out onto the street around taverns to make them look bad? Come to your own conclusion. My time on the PD, we had a lot of problems with a lot of taverns. It comes and goes. It ebbs and flows. You can't predict where it's always going to happen or when it's going to happen. And, some of these ordinances were put into place to help the police the taverns, so that they're not having to post people out there all the time to see if there's violations or not, and trying to catch those people that are in and out and that kind of stuff. Some taverns do a very good job with their security staff trying to prevent this, but they don't get everybody. So, I mean, if we don't think it's that big of a problem, if we want to put it on the shoulders of the police to take care of, we had a lot of people complaining about the container refuse down around the Broadway Street area. And it kind of went away. I mean, I think the neighbors, quite frankly, get tired of complaining. So why complain anymore? But like I said, if staff is moving ahead with an ordinance that just does away with the requirement for this reason, I'm okay with it, but it's one or the other. We can't have an ordinance for a stop sign and then give variances for people to blow through the stop signs all the time. That makes no sense. So, if we're going to get rid of it, I'm okay with that. That's fine. And if they want to grant a variance to this gentleman now, because in the future, the ordinance is going to be changing, I don't have a problem with that either. It would make no sense to make him have a 6-foot fence that you can't pass anything through if 6 months down the road, we're going to change the ordinance completely. So, those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. I just, Mr. Piontek's here to get this variance, and I'm all in favor of taking a look at this ordinance and seeing how this might be better worded if that's the case. But I think in this particular case, I don't want to penalize him for that. I think that's something that we're going to look for in the future. So at this time, I would, if there's no issues at all with the law department or with police on this issue, I would move to approve.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Stevens. Alder Stevens, did you have anything else you care to add?
No, I agree with changing the ordinance, so let's move forward.
Okay, and I would just
Should
like...
I put that in? Should I put that in my motion that is
No, I don't think that's necessary.
Okay, all right.
I would just like to make some clarifications, some points of clarifications that Alder Gavin brought up. There were issues with litter, especially in the Broadway district. That was mostly from a homeless population. That was an issue with, and that I don't think, and that was dealt with by a lot of people who are involved in those issues. And I think it's not that people aren't stopped complaining because it's still an issue. I think it's been cleaned up. People saw the issue, the problem, and they started taking steps to address it. On the east side, I know there was also a problem with litter, and that was more from the taverns. But most of those taverns don't even have, in Washington, that were sort of the problem areas, don't even have an outside facility for people to use. So how people were getting alcohol out from those buildings and into the parking lots and stuff, I don't really know. But again, neighbors complained, and we took it to the bar owners, and they started doing cleanup details when they were after hours. So that kind of cleaned up that. But I think I would certainly hope we would keep an ordinance that it would be illegal to pass alcohol beyond the licensed premises. But I don't know that we need to take preventive measures of a 6-foot wall anymore. With that, we've got the motion. I don't know if we need to open the floor if we're going to pass this. So let's take a vote and see where it goes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Well, let me know when you're ready, Joanne.
Okay, we are on the liquor violation report.
Liquor violation report from the police department for April 6, 2020. Officer Mahoney.
Okay, during this time, we had one of our local taverns that we got word was opening in violation of the governor's order. We went and checked on it and indeed found that they were open. Charges were referred to the district attorney's office. We're pending them on whether they're going to prosecute and for further on the business.
But what is the penalty for that violation? Do you know? Is that, I mean,
Per the governor's order, it could be up to $250 plus court costs. Rachel, the city attorney, advised me that would come close around $800 or $900 total, up to 30 days in jail and or both.
okay. Very interesting. Okay. That's it then?
Yes.
Any questions for Officer Mahoney?
Nope.
All right. Thank you, Officer Mahoney. Joanne,
Motion to place on
when you're
file.
ready for us to adjourn.
Well, we need,
We need a motion, find that, Randy.
Oh,
Motion to receive, place on file.
Thank you, Alder Vanderleest. Motion received and placed on file by Alder Vanderleest,
Second by Stoyer.
second by Stoyer. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that's received and placed by all. Thank you, Alder Vanderleest. Joanne, when can we adjourn?
one moment. There we go. We can adjourn.
I'll take a
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Alder Stoyer, seconded by Alder Stevens.
Sure.
I couldn't tell before. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed? Anybody not want to adjourn? Okay, that carries unanimously.
No.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Everybody did a great job. Thank you.
Thanks.